If struggling readers don't get the help they need by the end of second grade, they are in danger of never catching up. 60% of African American fourth graders read below grade level. 37% of public school fourth graders score below basic levels on reading exams.
Why do you have the habit of taking a book with you everywhere you go?
I take a book with me because you never know when you might just get bored or tired and you just feel like reading a book.
Anybody else?
I bring a book with me because it's just a pastime. If we're taking a long drive or waiting for someone to get done with their business. So I think it's a good idea.
I take a book because just in case something happens or just to pass time in the car, you could do something that you enjoy without getting bored or something.
All right. What are your favorite types of books to read?
My favorite type of book to read are illustrated classics, like this one.
What's the book that you're reading now, the one that you're holding up?
It's called Great Expectations.
Okay. And why do you like classics?
I like classics because they're interesting. They have a lot of adventure in them. And I get so into the book, I imagine it's me in the book, the main character. Like Moby Dick, which is a good one because it's about a white whale trying to kill Captain Ahab and his crew. And Captain Ahab is trying to kill the whale when whoever kills the whale gets a gold coin. It's just pretty good.
Faith, what types of books do you generally like to read?
I generally like to read mostly any kind of fiction book because they're very interesting and I'm swept away to a different place each time I read one. But mostly series of fiction books because I like seeing what's next and I can't wait to read the next book, not just wondering what book I should get.
Destiny?
I like reading fantasy books and fiction books. It's interesting, every single book you read, they could be similar, they could be extremely different. In fiction, you don't know what's going to happen next. Like there are so many dragons and ghoul stuff, and you don't know what to expect unless you read the page. And it's very exciting when you build up and try to find out what happens in the end.
First graders who are not on grade level by the end of the school year have a 1 in 10 chance of ever catching up. Studies show that when parents read to their children become better readers.
Why is it important to read?
I would tell children to read a book probably because it just helps you get away from everything that you don't want to be around. If you have nothing to do or if you're just bored or something, tired, just plop down with a book and you'll just go anywhere. That's my perspective. My perspective is I would tell them to read a book because it helps your brain get smarter and you get interested in the adventures that are happening, and it's fun. It just takes you to a whole other place.
Reading also helps you with your learning, like in language arts. You can learn how to read faster and absorb more things, so it can improve the things that you are doing.
How often and what happens when you go to the library?
We go to the library 2 times a week. When we go to the library, we get maybe 2 or 3 books. And then we also have to have a book about an African American so that we will learn about them, so that we will know more. Because in school you don't really learn about many African Americans. So my dad wants us to learn about them. I enjoy when I got the prize for turning in the reading log that I did. I remember our most recent trip to the library. There was these dogs that were in the library and you could pet them and they would help encourage you for reading because they would say, "Do you want to read the book to this dog?" And if you said yes, then you would read it. And if you kind of stopped to think about stuff, they would help you read. So I guess they're kind of helping you practice how you read around other people. And it was just a very fun experience.
Well, on our most recent trip to the library, I remember that it took the longest time. They all had their books and I didn't have one because I couldn't find any.
So, what was your most exciting experiences about books?
It takes you to another place because you get too interested in the book and you never want to stop reading.
Okay.
I like it when I check out those Disney books with a bunch of short stories in them, and then when you read them, your mom can read them to you every night, or you can just read them to your siblings, and it's very fun because you get a little snip of a movie or a larger book, and then once you read it and you say, ooh, that seems good, and so then you know what book you're going to get next. So that's why I like reading.
I like when pretty much all of my books are really interesting, and so I'm constantly reading them to see what happens next. And I'm also in school, so pretty much every day I show up with a new book and everybody's asking me how I read so fast and stuff, and I kind of like the attention because, it's cool.
Now, how seeing your dad read or your mom read may have influenced you to read.
When Mommy and Daddy read, that kind of helped me start reading a lot because they're grown-ups and they're reading stuff, so I wanted to be all smart and stuff too. I picked up a book and read and tried to copy them so it will be more adult-like.
I see Mom and Dad read all the time, even if they're just in my room, so I think I would feel kind of left out if I never read and everybody else was reading. So it just influenced me to read more books and how they read more fluently. So the more I read, then the more fluently I pick up the words. So they influence me to read more and more books.
Less than 2% of children's books written in 2006 were by African American authors. That number decreased in 2007. I wonder what that number is now. The first 3 grades are the time to learn basic literacy skills. When children enter the 4th grade, they are expected to tackle new information. In other words, in grades 1, 2, and 3, children learn to read. After that, they read to learn.
Tell me the difference you find in a book that was made to be a movie.
When I read Treasure Island, it was a lot more interesting than the movie because the book has more details in it. And the movie, it just copies off of the book, but it just cuts off everything.
For me, I tried reading Harry Potter, but I don't really like it very much. But the movies, for some reason, are more interesting. And for me, if I see a book that's very interesting and there's a movie to it, then sometimes I would think that the book is better because, like Sam said, there's more details and everything. So I would like that better than the movie.
So you say the movie is more interesting, or you think the book is more interesting?
Harry Potter movies are more interesting for me, but most books are more interesting.
About the books turned into the movie things, I don't really like movies based on books. I just think that books are made to be books, not movies. So on the movies, they either take things off that if you're reading would be one of the important parts or the things that you would look for in a book, or they would just add stuff that's not even relevant to what the movie is about. And I just like reading the books because you get more one-on-one experiences. The book is what people see inside the book. It's from their point of view on how the book should go, not from your point of view, because your point of view could be so much different. I read all the Harry Potter books, and my version in my mind was way different than what they had because it was from another director's point of view, not mine.
How does reading make you feel?
Reading makes me feel happy, joyful, cheery. I'm in a good mood sometimes. And I like doing it because you just get so interested into the book. Reading makes me feel so comforted because it's like you have friends when you read, because you can imagine you in the story also as one of the characters. But it also makes you laugh, so you feel very warm and happy whenever I read.
Reading makes me feel amazing because I just love books. I'm reading them all the time, like anytime I can, and they're just really great when you see what you could put on a page and how people can feel about them.
Why do you think reading is important for people?
Because it's educational and people get to learn more. And if they don't learn to read, then when they're an adult, then they'll have to learn to read. And it's good for your brain.
What would you say to people that don't read?
If you don't read, you should really try a book that would kind of relate to you. And when you try books like that, then it might say, if you like this book, try this. And so when you keep on trying those books, then you'll develop a sense that, hey, it doesn't matter what kind of book I read, just as long as I enjoy it.
How would you suggest that a kid would start reading?
I would suggest reading a smallish book because people my age won't like to read like I like 500-page books and more. So you would get a book that's like 100 pages and that has bigger font words instead of like 12 font, maybe like 18 or something. And it could be a book that you really enjoy and a lot of people really enjoy, and well, likely they will like it too.
Okay, so has reading a lot of books influenced you or made you want to write any books for yourself?
Reading books has really influenced me to write other books and to be an author. Because when I'm reading something, I also like to look at the author's page and think about the book I just read and think about how happy it made me feel that I'm reading it and how into it I am and how all these emotions give me. So I want to be the person that people will think, oh yeah, she can write about good things. She's a person that I want to look up to, and she has so many ideas that I want to live by. And I'm influenced by my dad and my sister because my dad has written a lot of books and my sister wrote one already called I Play Monopoly with My Daddy.
I have written a book. It's called I Play Monopoly with My Daddy. From the title, you get that I wrote it with my dad. And that was when I was 7 years old. And every day he would ask me, whenever I write my book, whenever I write a page, he would ask me, did you do your best on this? Most of the time I would say yes. Sometimes I would say no because I want to go outside and play. If I said no, he would make me rewrite it. And then after a while, it just started coming to me, so I didn't have to worry about missing out. One of the reasons why I wrote the book that I wrote was to tell children that if I could, or any people, that if I could do something at the age of 7, if I could write a book, then you can do anything, pretty much. That's why I wrote the book, and to show people how to handle their money. Reading has influenced me to write a book, which I have already written, which is 5. One is about a fairy tale, about a princess and a fire-breathing dragon and some fairies. The other one is about me playing on the Hawks team. And one's about how I had a terrible, horrible, worst good day. And one is about, well, I just wrote so many.
So you wrote stories?
Yes.
Or books?
written some stories that aren't published yet, but I'm hoping that they will be sooner or later.
Okay. Before we close for the evening, tell me, what do you think is exciting about doing a documentary?
I think the documentary is exciting because you can just tell how you feel on camera, and so other people would know how you feel about some particular things.
The documentary is exciting for me because I'm saying to all you children out there that books can really take you somewhere in life. Better than just a TV you're watching, TV show, whatever. Book that can really take you somewhere good in life where you can make money and just be happy.
Doing a documentary is important because it can teach children to want to learn more books. So it's important because children are telling children to read. It's not adults telling children, it's children telling children.
Whenever I read a good book, I'm always so caught up in it. So I go, wait, just one more chapter. And I never just stop at that chapter. I always keep on reading.
Reading rocks. It rocks your socks. And I recommend reading to everybody because you, like I said, you never know what you might find in a book and how it might make you feel.
That's a good question. The documentary is important to me because it can, when we're talking, other children would think, oh, since they're doing it, maybe I should do it because maybe it'll help me in school and my grades will get higher because I always get those D's. And so, anyway, I just think it can encourage other children to do it.